Millionaire LA homeowners are spending $150,000 on executive protection dogs to guard their homes after being left terrified by spate of burglaries in the crime-ridden city. And for those that don't even know, apparently in California, it's gotten so bad that there's now like people like stalking areas, like just like kind of in like hideouts in areas, like whether it be like downtown, whether it be like in the, it's like the area where like all the high end stores are at with super expensive parking. Like you have people that would wait around there until they see someone get into an expensive car, follow them to their house, and then rob them at their house and potentially rob their house right there. Like it's pretty bad, right? So I mean, the thing is, this isn't really the best solution. And the reason for it, the reason why I say that, what is to stop one of these criminals that are already going to commit a crime from potentially using a weapon that could easily just end the life of one of these dogs that you just spent $150,000 on? Like, and here's the thing, I love dogs, but like to spend $150,000 on a dog that is basically your pretty much your guardian dog in a sense, where it guards you, your property, everything. Which, by the way, the coolest part about these types of dogs, they are super well trained. The problem is you have owners that are probably not as well trained as those dogs and may end up giving them the wrong command, may end up not giving them what they need to stay active. So, like, maybe they don't end up like going along with what they were trained with because they're just so bored out of their minds. Like, I don't know. I mean, and also just to think about it, like $150,000 on a dog. And by the way, keep in mind, a lot of the millionaires that end up spending this type of money on like guard dogs are also like millionaires, celebrities that are basically doing everything in their power to pretty much prevent legal abiding citizens from getting cheap protection for themselves. So, millionaire LA homeowners are forking out six figure sums for highly trained guard dogs after being left terrified by crime waves sweeping the city. Top level dog protection trainers have revealed that the city's failure to clamp down on home invasions has led opulent residents to take matters into their own hands. Despite charging in excess of $150,000 for their services, California trainers are inundated with requests for intimidating canines while LA crime runs amok. And I don't know, just like seeing this type of figure for this type of thing just kind of like seems crazy to me, right? Because I mean, like, even if I had like millions and millions of dollars to just spending that type of money on like a well-trained dog just seems kind of crazy to me. It comes as LA has seen an 8% rise in violent crime under woke DA George Goskin, which has emboldened criminals and left homeowners terrified. Let's see. So what's the price that you would put for your family security? Asked Artyom Bulgarian, an LA resident who recently splashed the cash for his German Shepherd Rocky. The thing is, like, I understand how some of these individuals, maybe just normal individuals who happen to have a lot of money, might just go and like drop this type of money because maybe they are truly worried about, their family. But if they were truly worried about their family's security, the best solution would be to move out of the area into a safer area, into a safer state. So that line of thinking doesn't really like click. So an aerospace manufacturing executive, Bulgarian, has joined a growing list of well-off Californians choosing to pay massive sums for protection dogs. He felt Rocky's $70,000 cost was a reasonable sum considering the alternative, as his Sherman Oaks home has a history of terrifying home invasions. Like, hey, why are you staying in this area if it's not safe? I just don't understand this. Sometimes, like, super rich people can just be stupid, you know? What's crazy for this, too, you could literally hire someone to be your bodyguard for probably like a year by doing this, right? I don't know. It's just so much money for, like, again, even though I love dogs, it's a dog. You're spending 150,000, in this case $70,000 for a dog, right? So the property's former owner, baseball star Yastel Puig, saw $170,000 of luxury items stolen in 2018, leading Bulgarian to fork out to protect his family home. $70,000. You amortize it over 10 to 15 years, whatever the dog's life is, and it's not that big of a price tag, he told the LA Times, especially when that particular house has been burglarized. Now, it's kind of crazy when you think about that. It's like, so, like, pretty much what this person's trying to do is like, oh, over the price of like 10 to 15 years, 70 grand ain't that big of a deal, right? Well, I mean, let's do it. So, $70,000 divided by, let's go with the lowest one, 10 years. That means you're spending 7 grand per year on your dog just to basically buy your dog. Basically, someone could, in a sense, maybe take out a loan to pay for one of these dogs, kind of thing. But, like, let's say that you were spending the $150,000, right? So $150,000 for 10 years, right? 15 grand. So you're going to be spending 15 grand a year, technically just by your dog, not including the cost for medical bills for your dog, not the cost to feed your dog, not the cost to just like general maintenance for your dog, basically, right? Not to mention any potential mishaps, right? Because even though they might be well trained, it doesn't mean that they are perfect. Because guess what? Dogs are still animals, right? And again, I love dogs, but it just takes one bad moment for one of these well trained dogs to react badly or incorrectly, mainly due to probably the owner, and that dog maybe attacks someone that it shouldn't attack, and all of a sudden now the owner is on hook for who knows how much money, might be put into jail for what the dog did, and the dog is probably going to get put down. So it's a lose, 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 lose. So my line of thinking is like, one, does it financially make sense? Well, a lot of these individuals are making millions upon millions of dollars to where this is probably like the equivalent of a normal person basically buying a cup of coffee, right? Or maybe like a new laptop. It's kind of like, it's a little bit pricey, but maybe it's like, it's not really going to do anything on the laptop example for like that 150,000 example. But I don't know. To me, it's still not worth it. Like, even if I had millions of dollars, right? To me, the true solution would just to be moving to a different state or moving into a location that is just safer, right? The problem with California, pretty much nowhere is really safe in California now because crime is basically everywhere there. Kind of crazy though. So the growing lawlessness plaguing LA homeowners has been a goldmine for the West Coast protection dog trainers. Noting the infamous 2021 slaying of philanthropist Jacqueline Avant, the outlet claimed two canine trainers reported a huge spike in inquiries in recent years thanks to the region's untamed crime wave. Los Angeles saw a double digit increase in break ins and home invasions last year, a trend that led the area's homeowners to ramp up their at home security measures. According to crime statistics tracker Neighborhood Scout, LA is safer than just 9% of cities in the US, and residents have a shocking 1 in 135 chance of becoming a victim of a violent crime. That figure drops to a disturbing 1 in 41 when looking at the odds of becoming a victim of property crime. Because also, you gotta keep in mind, it is not uncommon for a place like LA to basically have like people shooting up illicit drugs right across the street or literally right in front of like a $20 million mansion. That is not an uncommon thing. So think about it. Think about how all these wealthy people in these super expensive homes, driving their super expensive cars, wearing super expensive jewelry, like, oh yeah, there's totally nothing going to happen to me. No, of course there's probably going to something happen to you. If you're going to be flaunting wealth like that in areas where basically like, hey, they don't really view anything good about you. Like, there's going to be criminals in those areas, and they really don't care about your life, like, at all. But I don't see a dog necessarily solving this issue. Because what? Is a dog going to just be there all the time? Doubt that, right? I doubt that like most of these individuals that are getting these dogs are literally taking their dog all the time. Now they might like keep it at the house and it might protect the house, but guess what? If you got one dog and then you got two or three intruders that are breaking in and all three have weapons, well, guess what's going to happen to that dog? That dog might be able to get one of them. There's still two others. And now you got basically a dog that cost 150 grand that is now dead because you expected it to basically be your complete security system. Like, it's just crazy to me. Like, why even bother putting that onto the dog? Which, by the way, I know that dogs are used in police, they're used in the military, but at the same time, to put all of your faith in the dog and basically none of like the responsibility on yourself is just kind of weird to me. One LA local who has faced the area's burglary problem is rapper Drake, whose sprawling $75 million mansion was broken into last month. By the way, right? If I personally made so much money that I could buy a $75 million mansion, I would be so unbelievably pissed off that it got broken into. Because with that type of money to buy this property, you would expect that you would have some form of security. Some, right? You would expect that you would probably also be in an area that has some sort of security measures. You'd think that you'd be in a state that has not too horrible of a crime problem. Crazy. So much money and you can't even stop people from breaking into your house. So as the crisis deepens, Beverly Hills' only gun store has seen business skyrocket as terrified residents stock up on firearms, alongside the region's wealthy occupants now paying top dollar for so-called executive protection dogs. Now here's the thing too, right? So if Beverly Hills only has one gun store and they make potentially it being a very hard path for people to own weapons, specifically firearms, in this area, well, the cost of firearms are going to just skyrocket, meaning that the rich can really only afford it. Same thing with these protection dogs. So now only the rich can afford it. Horrible. To be very blunt, our dogs that were born in 2022 are being sold at a price of $150,000, revealed Montana trainer Kim Green. Her canine security business, Sylvan, produces just 18 fully trained dogs each year, which she dubs a coveted product when tasked with stopping criminals. Wow, okay, so let's get this. So 18 per year, right? So 18 dogs times $150,000 a pop. So this is a $2.7 million revenue stream for them. These 18 dogs. One, these dogs got to be so crazy trained for this type of money. But two, it's just like, wow. I guess when you solve rich people's problems, you get paid some pretty nice sized stacks of money. Man, 2.7 million. To be very blunt, our dogs that were born in blah, 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 yeah, her canine security business, blah, 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 blah. The post-pandemic crime wave has been good for business. As Green said, she charged $75,000 for a dog just 4 years ago. So they literally doubled the price. Wow. So until urgent demand from the West Coast elite allowed her to double her prices. We can't create the assets quickly enough, she said. The high price tags are well earned, however, as the canines are put through rigorous training programs to cater to individual, sometimes high stress scenarios. One particular crime is striking fear into the hearts of LA mansion owners, as an updated version of a home invasion has now been dubbed follow home robberies. Exactly, so this is basically what I was mentioning earlier. After spotting their affluent victims in public, such as in a ritzy restaurant, criminals have been known to follow them home before ransacking their properties. Under Woke DA George Goskin, the opulent West Coast region has seen sharp rises in crime while criminals are routinely released back onto the streets, alongside an 8% rise in violent crime, and burglaries also rose 12.5% last year, while property crimes and robberies rose 10 and 7% respectively. So while the dogs are taught to quickly take out impeding danger, many of California's millionaires pay the exorbitant price tags as they also end up with a new family member. See, the thing is, this is just my personal opinion. I feel like if you wanted to have like a dog as like a family dog, then you should have a family dog, right? Maybe save one from a shelter if it hasn't been too mentally damaged, because some of these dogs have just been abused constantly, where like to the point where it's almost impossible to get them okay with people, right? Like where it's not even safe anymore. But yeah, like if you want a guard dog, get a guard dog. If you want a family dog, get a family dog. I don't think people should be trying to like force these dogs into two separate positions at the same time. So these are good, solid companions that take care of their family, said November Hawley, president of German Shepherd Protection Dog Trainers, Harrison Canine. They're not trained to kill. We don't train killers. They're trained to stop the threat. But even if the high-priced companion becomes a cute family favorite, the trainer added that when faced with the reality of LA's rampant crime, the dogs are more than useful. Honestly, most people have an inherent fear of being eaten by an animal, she said, maintaining that the mere presence of a guard dog serves as a psychological deterrent to the bad guys. I mean, potentially, but is that worth $150,000 as just a deterrent? Harrison Canine fetches up to $65,000 for its protection dogs, but this number reportedly rises well into the six figures as owners seek specific bloodlines, origins, and training requests. Mountain Request also saw the company sell 65 canines last year, a company record, as Holly admitted her client base relies on the upper 3 to 4% financially. Wow. Another of the industry's favored trainers is the Delta Canine Academy, the facility that trained Bugadarian's guard dog, Rocky. The unit's owner, Mike Israeli, regularly shares details of the training sessions to 7,500 Instagram followers, where he instructs dogs how to fend off even the most determined home invader with techniques like a bite and hold. A fully trained protection dog is like a weapon, he told the LA Times. People underestimate the value, their 38-year-old added, noting that the dogs can even be taught to disarm an attacker with a weapon or to leap from a moving vehicle. Hiring a bodyguard yearly, the salary is $150,000, and they're not with you 24/7, and they're not as loyal. The thing is, some of these dogs are probably not going to be with their owners 24/7 as well. So one of Israeli's clients said she only looked to pay for one of the guard dogs after her San Fernando Valley area was struck by the rise in crime. Just with everything going on, I wasn't feeling extremely safe, said Tammy Parkinson, 47, who said she bought her German Shepherd Coda from Israeli to avoid being added to California's frightening statistics. I'm not going to be a victim, she added. The criminals have more rights than we do. They're just being released left and right. There's no consequences. So I'm like, you know what? It's better at this point to have the protection dog in case something was to happen. Trust me, they're going to want the dog bite rather than the gunshot. Now, that is a good point, too. But I don't know. I feel like the fact that they're even like having to basically rely on going down the route of paying this type of money for a guard dog just goes to show you how much California has failed its citizens. It's like, wow, you can't even protect people from being robbed. Like, that's sad. Let's see. This is what happens when communities go woke, defund the police so that only the wealthy can defend their homes. Let's see. So Gascon's burglars, oh, hey, nice 150K dog. Meet my $300 9mm problem solved. And this is my perspective on it. It's like, again, I love dogs, but a criminal is going to be able to find such a cheap weapon that could solve the issue for these dogs. Like, of the dog. Wow. I have a German Shepherd named Henry. German Shepherds are super awesome dogs, by the way. And now they will be sued for the dog being overprotective. Won't work for these increasingly proving far better armed and organized thieves will simply shoot the dogs. Only sensible, provable to work solution. Ooh. Okay. That's kind of going deep into that. Those people have been watching too much TV. Dogs make good pets, but for protection, I'd much rather have a gun. Doggy can also get shot by an intruder, an AR-15 or a good handgun. Okay. The 1% don't care about anyone but themselves. The gated communities will get bigger and relocated even further away from the humanity. But the funny thing is, some of these gated communities are still getting robbed. Let's see, this person says, we bought our German Shepherd with a great bloodline 3 years ago for about $5,000 and had her trained. It cost about $4,000 for 2 months of training, and she stayed with the trainer. Athena is amazing and her temperament is wonderful, and she patrols our land very well. She loves her family. This is the best dog I ever had, but she had to be socialized, and you have to know what you're doing to have a German Shepherd. Like the thing is, like A lot of it, I think, depends on the personality of these dogs, right? Because some dogs are very attuned to basically training without even much work. And if a dog is super intelligent, like Huskies and German Shepherds, they're very technically easy to train, but their personality might end up kicking in and be like, yeah, we know what to do, but we kind of don't really want to do that. We don't really want to sit right now, even though we know that we should be sitting at whatever command. Criminals would be starting to show with pit bulls. Pit bulls can be shot fairly quickly. Try again. Wait until one of those dogs mauls an intruder. And that's another thing. Like, again, this is like in California. It would not shock me that if one of these guard dogs that cost $150,000 were to stop an intruder, that the owners are now going to get sued in a civil case by the literal robber, by the intruder. Like, you have to keep that in mind. California, in terms of like the citizens' protection, is horrendous. Like, these citizens have basically almost no rights, and the criminals in California are just basically being able to do whatever they want.